Okay, so this is my macrame feather tutorial. I'm going to talk to you about how to make macrame feathers, the materials that you need to make them, and how to make them last so that they still look good time after time. Okay, so here's some examples of some macrame feathers made in different colour cottons. Now it's important to have the right kind of macrame thread to make your feathers. So you want a string that's a cotton that's twisted. So it's a single ply twist and it comes in various thicknesses, so it doesn't matter if it's as fine as this one or as thick as this one. I'll put them together so you can see. So long as it's a single ply twist, because to make the feather we brush the ply so that it feathers out and looks like this, and it's easier to do that if you're using a single ply twist. And they come in various thicknesses. I've got 3 different thicknesses here, and this one on the left is just your kitchen string, you know, standard kitchen string, and then going up in size. You can see the variation you get there. So it's not saying that it's impossible to do it with a twisted rope, but it would take a lot more work to get it to untwist and to unravel nicely. So if you can, and even if it's just this thin one here, it's a twisted single ply cotton that you need to use. So you need some cotton. A ruler, though not essential, is handy to have so you can measure out your pieces. You can estimate because you're going to trim them all down, so it doesn't really matter, but a ruler's handy. What you do need is a nice sharp pair of scissors. So fabric scissors are best because you're going to have to give it that nice crisp edge, and the only way you're going to get that is with a nice pair of sharp scissors. And then to feather it out, you need a comb. So any type of comb will do. Even a hairbrush would do, to be honest, but anything that you can use just to comb out those fibres is what you need. I use these little clips, and you could use a peg just to hold it onto the tray that you're working on so that you've got something anchoring it down while you tie the pieces of string to it. Alternatively, you could use a keyring top to attach it to, and then anchor that to something to stop it moving. So what are they for? Well, you can have feathers as bag charms, you could have it as a keyring, you could hang them from door handles in your house, you could do a selection like this and hang them all from a piece of wood and make a hanging of all different sizes of feathers and different colours. Could look really pretty. So they're quite versatile in how we make them, and there are 2 different ways to make them that I'm going to demonstrate to you today. Here you can see the alternated knot that we use in the middle, and then this one here looks very different, but actually is the easiest of the feathers to create. So I'm just going to get my workstation ready so that I can demonstrate to you how to make them, and I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate to you with this chunky pink thread because you'll be able to see it nice and clearly because it's lovely and big. I've cut myself a piece of string that's 55 centimetres long, so that's 55 centimetres, and I've folded it in half. And then I've cut myself 20 pieces of string that are about 15 centimetres long to get myself started. So prepare your string so that you're ready to go. Then I'm going to attach my folded in half piece of string to the top of my tray or my board, whatever it is I'm working on. So it will just leave me a little loop at the end that I can attach it to whatever I want to attach it to. Alternatively, if you've got a keyring and you want to thread it through the keyring like this, so that little D-ring there, and then work on it attached like that, and that can be another way of working, but I thought you might not have these at home, so I just want to show you what it looks like when you just work from a loop of string. Okay, so there it is attached to my board. Now what we do is we fold each of these 15 centimetre pieces in half and feed it under the holding thread. So holding thread, working thread. And then I fold the second piece over, and I'm going to bring the tails through the loop and the tails through the loop and pull them tight around the holding thread, like so, and slide it up. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that for you so you can see it again. It's difficult with my hands in the way. So underneath, like so, fold that in half and then bring the tails through that loop like that, and then put those tails through that loop and pull it tight. So you can see that it's actually a square knot, but just done in a slightly different way because we're using two separate pieces of string. Now, when I make my feathers, if I get one here to show you so it's nice and clear, I like to alternate the side that this knot appears. But this is all down to personal choice. You might want to have that ridge all the way down this side, or you might prefer it to alternate them like I do. But either way, there's no right or wrong. So if I want to alternate them, in the gap here, I put the first string under facing the other way, like that. And then I get the loop, bring the tails through it, put the strings, the ends of the strings through the loop on the other side, and pull. And you'll see now that I've got that way, that way, that way, because I'm alternating them. So I'll carry on doing that. Fold my string in half, pop it underneath, fold another string in half, bring the tails through the loop, take the tails through the loop, and pull it tight and slide it up. And because I'm alternating it, I do it the opposite way this time. So I bring it in from the left. This one, I use the loop on that left side to get the tails, and then put the tails through that right side and pull them tight. Like so. Keep it nice and tight. There we go. Okay, so this time I go underneath this way from right to left, and you just keep going, building it up until your feather is as big as you want it to be. You don't have to use all 20 pieces. You might decide to stop when you think it's as long as you'd like it to be. Pull them tight. If you brush them down like that, and it becomes the feather. So I'm going to keep going. Use up my pieces. I'll speed this bit up now so I can get to the end. Okay, so I'm nearly at the end now, but I just wanted to point out that because we're alternating, you might think, well, how does she know which side she's got to do next? So I'm always pushing the loop to the opposite side of where the bobble is. So wherever that bobble is, the loop goes to the opposite side. And if you get muddled and you do it the wrong way, just slide it down like that and put one the right way in between, so you haven't had to undo anything and waste your work. Okay, like so. So that's my basic feather created. Now, some people worry that the string's just going to pull off the end because there's nothing holding it on. And some people like to just tie a knot on the end, but like so. Just give it a bump to stop it falling over. But because this is a nice thick string, I don't like to have a knot there because I know that when I thread out this string it becomes bushy and that will hold it on in itself. Okay, so now I'm ready to do some feathering out, some combing. I take it off my tray and move it so that I can put my hand on top of it, and then I'm going to use my comb to comb from the edges like you would with tangled hair up towards the spine of the feather. And this just takes a little bit of work and it is a little bit noisy. So you've got to do this side, and you've got to turn it over and do this side and this side. So I'm going to speed it up so that you can see it happening, but not have to sit there and listen to the noise and wait for me to do it. So okay, so once you get it to that point, you're ready to start shaping it into a feather. Now do be careful, you can see there's a lot of dust that comes off as you're combing from this cotton. So please, if you're, asthmatic or something, or you struggle with dust, just be careful that it's not all blowing at you when you do it. So once you've got it all feathered, then you need your scissors and you've got to get brave with trimming it. Now sometimes when I do classes, people say to me, oh, is there not a template? Well, you can make yourself a little template that you could draw on a piece of paper, cut it out, and then hold it over the top so that you're not going quite so freehand if you don't feel the confidence to do that. But I like to just hold it up, so I'm just going to lift the camera up a little bit so that you can see. And I like to hold up the feather and just get my scissors along the edge to give it a first trim to where I think I want it to be. Because I'm left-handed, I cut the left side first and then I'll turn it over and cut it's still on the left side. Can you see how that works? So for you, you probably feel more comfortable cutting the right side of the feather, so you would do it just the other way round, but just turn it in your hand so you're always cutting on your best side. So then I just lay it down to have a little look at the shape, and I can see I've not quite come in as near here and I've got a bit of work to do on the bottom. So I'm going to take a bit more off that, and then I'm going to work on the point. And once you've had a trim like that, you might want to just give it another comb so it's in position. And then give it another trim. Any bits that appear that aren't quite where you want them, turn that over. And I quite like that now. So that's my first demonstration to you of a macrame feather. And so you'll see that if you hang them somewhere and they're not going to get touched, then they'll stay lovely like that. But if you're going to use it on a handbag as a charm, or it's going to get brushed past all the time, you're going to need to look after it by giving it a hairbrush every now and again, just to keep all the threads in the right place. Alternatively, there are things that you can buy that will stiffen the cotton and keep it where you want it. So this here it's called Stiffen Quick Fabric Stiffening Spray, and you spray it all over it. It turns the cotton really wet. It's horrible to see, really. You have to, once it's gone really wet, then you have to comb it again, leave it to dry, and then I'd say comb it again so that you get the sort of fluffiness look back to it. This one here, I have used the fabric stiffener on it, so it's less moving around. You can see it's sort of quite rigid in its holding its shape. So it depends what you're going to use the feather for as to where you leave it. Okay, so that's the feather with the alternating knot. It's the same knot if you just want to do it with the ridge down one side, but I did say I would show you how to make one that's got this ridged centre. So I would like you to see how easy it is to do that, and probably even easier than this, and I've even done this with children. They can cope with this too. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so I've gone for a lovely Parma Violet colour here, and I'm going to show you how to do the feather that's got this ridged centre. And I've got just a 30 centimetre piece of the Parma Violet thread, and I'm just going to pin that to the board just like we did before. And this really couldn't be any simpler. So my little 15 centimetre pieces of string, just pop it one at a time underneath and just do the start of a shoelace and pull it tight and slide it up. And you're just going to repeat that over and over to give yourself this ridge. So you just pop it underneath, try and keep it equally in half. Pass that one around that one, do the start of a shoelace and slide it up. Same again. So underneath, I'm always doing left over right and under, just so that I remember to always do it the same way. And then I'll get that same ridged effect at the top. So pop it underneath, left over right, and push it up and pull it tight like so. So I'm going to speed that up now so that you can see that growing. Okay, so there I am. I added 15 strings in the end to make my feather, and now I do the same as what I did before with my combing out, just like so. So I'm going to speed that up too so that you can see the end result. Okay, so my feather's all combed out and I'm ready to cut it into shape now. So using my sharp scissors, I'll get a hold of it and cutting down the left side first because that's my preferred side. I'll just lift the camera so that you can see a bit better. I just make a nice clean cut and then turn it over and do the same. Okay, then lay it down and have a look at it. I can see that I need to work on getting a nicer point at the bottom. So I'll do that first. Turn it over. I want the shape to come round at the top better. And then I'm just going to give it another comb. I can see what I've done. And the feathers downwards in the direction that they're going to hang. And then give it another trim. I need to brush it on the other side as well because the comb often doesn't go all the way through. You kind of just keep going and it's hard to know when to stop, I'd say. But it's fun giving it a haircut. There we go. So I'm happy with that now. Move all my bits out of the way. There we go. Just check that point. There we go. So that's the easy version of the feathers. Fun trying that one out too. Okay, so just a little recap on your feather making. You need just to find yourself a twisted cotton and cut them into lengths about 12-15 centimetres to make your knots, and then have a longer centerpiece about 30 centimetres to 55 centimetres depending on the size of the feather that you want to make. You can just have a loop at the top like that so you can hang them within a hanging, or you can add a key ring to the top, or if you want you could add beads before you start tying on your threads, or you could do the twisted knot that I've done on a tutorial at the start. Cut yourself a slightly longer center thread so that, and you'll need to have 2 of them, so you start with 2 threads so that gives you 4 strings to do your twisted strings with, and then you just tie your center strings around 4 threads rather than 2. And of course, if you're doing something delicate like this with the really thin string, so with this kind of string, you might be best starting with a double, so 4 strings in the middle, so it would give you a much stronger spine to the feathers too. Okay, so lots of options. Any questions, just pop them in the notes and comments underneath and I'll see if I can help you out. But have fun today or over the course of the next few days having a go with some macrame feathers.